Juice 2 is our first piece of news. We don't have follow-ups. We do have a couple of trailers, but I just had to get to this first. Beetlejuice 2 is actually happening. How crazy is this? All right. All right, nerds, we are back in it for another episode of the news. In this episode, we have a Daredevil update on the Daredevil TV series, as well as a lot of Flash in the rumor mill and a confirmation of a rumor that I honestly didn't think we were going to get confirmed. So real quick housekeeping before we get into the next section of the video or the episode, I guess. Is that, if you're following on the Twitter over a couple days ago, you got a lot of videos of the same thing from different angles. I was playing Halo on an Xbox that was not connected to my computer, so I couldn't exactly record the way I normally do, so I had to record it on the Xbox, then upload it to Twitter, because it's the only thing I actually have connected to the Xbox, so that I could then download that information onto the computer and then edit the video and then post it back up to, I'm pretty sure it went up to the Twitter. Either way, that's why there was random things happening on the Twitter that had to do with Halo. That, I believe, is all of the housekeeping. We are still doing the push, so, I can't really go more than an episode or two without mentioning the push, trying to get a few of our outlets over 1,000 followers. We are getting close on TikTok. We are getting close on the YouTubes. And honestly, we made a pretty decent jump on Instagram. So that's good headway, nerds. Keep spreading the word and keep coming back for more of the pop culture headlines, nerdy, and all of the things. And yeah, that is what we've got for housekeeping and such. So let's do the shout-outs portion of the video, because we have a bunch of shout-outs. And actually, we're going to do something a little bit different in the shout-outs this time. We'll get to that in a moment. So let's start in the Instagram shout-outs. New followers for Instagram. We have Electric Lady 61904, Rahul Sharan 02, Mike _Onassis, Bia _Paris Pompano. Thank you very much, nerds, for the follow on Instagram. That is at Generally Nerdy, all one word. Next is the bit of change that we're going to be that we're addressing. So I've been trying to respond to comments or give shout outs to commenters on the YouTube. And so now we're going to actually respond to those comments. We've had a few comments, what with the posting of a few of the proper reaction videos over the last couple of weeks. So we're going to get into that real quick. This is the viewer comments section for the YouTube. We don't have any shout outs because everybody who followed for YouTube over the course of the last week doesn't have their settings set to public, so unfortunately I don't have any shout-outs proper, but we do have some comments, so let's get to those. So our first comment, the most recent comment, because we're just going to go in reverse order. The most recent comment is from a YouTube user named Isopod, and they commented on the Orville Peck, the new Come On Baby Cry reaction video, was talking about the auto-tune, because there at the end of that song there is some auto-tune on Orville Peck's voice, and I said something about how it breaks my heart to hear that, because Orville Peck is not an artist, country music is not a genre where that is something that happens with any sort of real regularity. That being said, Isopod definitely was not in agreement with me in that whoever this person is, they appreciated the way that sounds, because hip-hop artists do it all the time, so why shouldn't Orville Peck? And that is a fair point. I prefer, I don't like it on hip-hop artists either. I think it is a dumb studio trick that is very difficult to recreate live in any sort of quality way, and is actually very difficult to do on a record in any sort of quality way, and generally speaking just has more of a diminishing effect on the vocal from the artist rather than any sort of enhancement. So that is the point. That is why I said that such things kind of break my heart when I hear it on an Orville Peck tune, because Orville Peck is a very, very talented vocalist and he can hit those notes. So why they decided that auto-tune was the way to go, I may never know. So that is that. Our next viewer comment comes, this one was just somebody appreciating the Orville Peck video. So Mr. Roro Suri, thank you very much for the love there. And I'm just assuming gender at this point because I have to. Thank you very much, sir. Our next one, oh, this one's gonna be fun. All right, so a YouTube user by the name of JM was commenting on the most recent reaction video from the Lorna Shore song. And in that song, I get into displacement. We're talking about drum replacement. It is a thing in modern metal, especially the more aggressive styles like Blackened Death, which is what Lorna Shore technically qualifies as, I would imagine, I suppose. And I made a comment about how I feel like over-quantization of drums and even drum replacement, where you replace the analog tone that you get from a human hitting a drum with a mallet and replace that with something digital and then line that up onto a grid, that becomes a mechanical thing, and it loses any personal presence that that person on that kit could give. To quote, to paraphrase, I guess more appropriately, to paraphrase Dave Grohl, the sign of a good drummer is all you have to listen to is a few seconds and you know who they are. If that drummer is overly quantized and replaced, you can't know who they are because there's no more signature there. There's no more feel. Music is good music anyway is about feel. And that's the point I was trying to get to is the tone replacement, the drum replacements, just you lose the human element. You lose the feel. You lose the soul, the essence of what music is, and that is an expression of emotion, expression of art to some degree, and that kind of production trickery really just is a red flag in some cases, or is just kind of a down mark in most, because it's not a make or break kind of thing. I still really like Lorna Shore. I still like a lot of bands that use this studio trick. I just, as a producer, would never do it myself. If you can't play the song you wrote, maybe you should practice a little more. That's all I'm really getting at. Anyway, so that's that one. Then we have another Orville comment, somebody appreciating the insight that I contributed to the conversation. YouTube username Kami, K-A-M-I. Thank you very much for your comment. I do try and add insight to the conversation. I've been doing these things for a very long time, so I feel like I have valuable insight to share, so I appreciate the recognition. Next is, and I love this person's username, YouTube user by the name of Washed Up Twitch Viewer. This is from a very old video, Psychosexual's Baby on Fire, I'm pretty sure is the actual song. So I did 2 psychosexual reaction videos. One of them had some technical difficulties, so it never got posted, but the one that posted, I'm pretty sure, was the Baby on Fire, which is like, come on, bro, you're taken from Deontward at that point, because they have a much better song by the same name. Anyway, so this guy, the Washed Up Twitch Viewer, was talking about how Psychosexual was only playing root notes. Agreed, they're an untalented band, and they actually have changed their band name since I recorded that video. I don't remember what it is now, but it's equally stupid. And we're moving on. We have another comment over on the Meshuggah reaction video this time. This is Danny Martinez talking about how everything that Meshuggah writes is actually in 4/4. I would challenge that notion. Yes, I do acknowledge that a lot of what Meshuggah does is is in 4/4. It just feels different, as I got into in that reaction video, because they do rhythm displacement. They have phrases that are longer than a single measure, though technically they are still in 4/4. Yes, I totally understand that, but honestly, rhythm displacement and crazy time signatures kind of, in a lot of ways in modern music, are kind of interchangeable, because it's all about feel, and it's all about communicating that feel to somebody else. So there was another comment that we're going to address here in the video as well, from a user named Solomon, talking about rhythm displacement very specifically, trying to explain to me something that I already explained in the Meshuggah reaction video. Anyway, so Solomon says that if you listen to the snare and or the cymbals, usually those things are in 4/4. Yes, I never said anything to the contrary. The argument I was trying to make, or the point I was trying to make, I guess it wasn't really an argument. The point I was trying to make is rhythm displacement is very complicated in and of itself. Using odd time signatures, also very complicated. They kind of do them interchangeably. I know Thomas likes to do something in 4/4, but a lot of times, just because he has 5 measures of 4/4 doesn't mean that's necessarily the time signature he's playing in. Because if he's got 5 measures of 4/4 and then 1 measure of 3/4, maybe the actual time signature that they're playing in is something different. That's what I was going for. Just because you can feel the flow, the rhythm, the groove in 4/4 does not mean that's exactly where it is. Really, this is an argument of semantics when you boil it down as well, because is there a groove? Is it great to listen to? Can you understand the things that are going on outside of maybe this weird time signature argument that we're having? That's the only point that matters. Do you enjoy the music? I'm just trying to give a framework for people who may not listen to this kind of music, a way to enjoy, or at least have the vocabulary to argue against something in this vein. So I feel like both of those comments are getting down into the semantics of music, and while that is fun, that is a good conversation to have. Adam Neely has a whole freaking channel on it. No, that might be oversimplification of what Neely does over on his channel. But either way, thank you very much, nerds, for the comments. We are moving right along. We have one for the Joker 2. This one actually comes from a longtime viewer. Travis Mitchell, Joker 2. I did a short over on the Nerd News Clips channel about the, it was a rumor from a few episodes ago, and it turned it into a short. He said that he really likes the idea of an imposter Joker movie. And Travis, bro, I really want to get into that conversation. So let's try and do that. I don't know, maybe in the comment section, maybe we can do like a Zoom call and I can record it and we can put it up on the channel. I think that is a really great mental exercise of who the Joker can be and who the Joker actually is, and where those two things should cross and where they shouldn't cross. And just I in the comment I sent back, I said something about the thing that makes the Joker work is his ambiguity. So if you get too deep into who the Joker is or what he finds truly offensive, I think was kind of one of the points you were making, or something that he thinks has crossed the line, then you're getting a little bit too much into the Joker as a person and less as an idea. And Joker works best as an idea, and it's the opposite idea of what Batman is, and that's why the Joker can only work in the Batman end of the DC universe. Because if you get into Joker versus Superman, there's not a whole lot of the same dynamics. They don't work quite as well. They don't work nearly as well as we kind of see in the Injustice series. Anyway. So thank you very much, Travis, for the comment there. I really think this is something that would be a lot of fun to try and expand on. So hit me up. You follow on, actually, I think a couple of the outlets. So you know how to get a hold of me, boss. And then our final viewer comment comes from, what is this person's name? Master Ginger. over again on the Clips channel because I finally figured out the way to get posted the things, the review, because I did the Matrix video. It was a few episodes back in December, I believe, and I cut that and put it up on the Clips channel because that whole episode basically was the Matrix argument. So if you go over to the comments section of the Clips version of that, wow. That's all. What the hell was that? Master Ginger, maybe sober up before you leave a comment because you're talking some crazy talk, bro. Yeah, so that being the case, that is the YouTube section of the shoutouts. It's really just viewer comments. So if you want your comment, you can go to the either YouTube channel. And again, there is about to be a third YouTube channel, just kind of working out when I will have time to film those videos. But right now we do have the two main YouTube channels, Generally Nerdy and Nerd News Clips, where all of the shorts and stuff go. So next on shoutouts, we have Twitter shoutouts. We got a couple of new ones. New followers on the Twitter. We have Fred the Savage at Comics Fred, and then we have The One Being at Dr. Hexen. Thank you very much, nerds, for the follow. If you want your follow for Twitter, Twitter is at generally_nerdy, and actually those two specifically followed because of my new announcement that I can finally make. Kamidogu, I am now writing for a Mortal Kombat fan site, so I can finally get all of these Mortal Kombat things out of me and not feel like I'm bogging down the news show, though any big news for Mortal Kombat will still find its way here as well. I just am going to do a lot more of the smaller pieces over on Kamidogu. So Kamidogu.com is the place for that, or just, go follow them on the Twitters and the Instagrams and so on and so forth. And then TikTok shoutouts, we actually only have two, which is really bizarre because TikTok goes so fast. But we have K's IWVJYX. I think you might be a bot, but thanks for the follow. And then we have TT Valethium. That one I'm pretty sure is legit. Thank you very much, nerd, for the follow again at Generally Nerdy. And then our final one is we have a new Facebook follower, Ashish Kumar. Thank you very much, Ashish, for the follow. Welcome, nerds, to Generally Nerdy. This is the place to get your news once a week, twice a week if you join me for the live news show, or if you want to find me on any of the syndicated outlets, Nerdy Legion, Big Show Entertainment Network, so on and so forth. You can find all of that stuff linked at generallynerdy.net. All right, so shout outs out of the way. Let's jump into the music section. Music is kind of small this week. We have one new tour. Danzig is going on tour with Cradle of Filth. Wow. And a band I've never heard of called Crobot. They start May 5th in Reno, Nevada, go all the way through May 19th, all the way. There's like 2 weeks of tour. Oh. May 19th in Austin, Texas. Links down in the description if you're interested in tickets. I honestly would be kind of very interested in this, and they are coming to my neck of the woods, so I might be getting tickets to that. And then that's all we really have for news. We do have a couple of suggestions to get out of the way. So, music suggestions for this episode. Our first suggestion is a Corey Taylor related suggestion. Corey Taylor actually just recently sat down with Mayim Bialik. I'm sorry I mispronounced her name. Blossom and Amy Farrah Fowler from Big Bang Theory. She has a podcast, which there is a video up on the YouTube, so you can go look for it. The name of the podcast is Mayim Bialik's Breakdown, and she interviewed Corey Taylor. It is absolutely worth a listen or watch or whatever. And then actual music suggestion is Code Orange, their Forever record, the first record I believe that they put out with Roadrunner. It is truly fantastic. If you like aggressive music, then this should be on your regular rotation list. That is suggestions for music section, though. So normally, the middle of the episode is a little bit short just because gaming and tech and comic books just kind of are a little bit harder to do in the style that we do here on the show. But this episode, they're pretty healthy. So we're going to dive head first into gaming and tech. Gaming and tech, we have a couple of follow-ups. First up is Elden Ring. So kinda, sorta happy late Elden Ring day. Oh boy. We have some really interesting stuff. So the Metacritic review from users of Elden Ring, depending on the platform, are pretty mixed, and that's being generous. There are some 0 stars on Metacritic and this comes from fans. This comes from people who love FromSoft, and largely this is something that FromSoft is looking into, and they are very vocal about trying to fix these issues. But there are a lot of technical issues with Elden Ring, and that is highly unfortunate. It seems to be mostly PC-based issues. A lot of them have to do with wider than wide ratio when it comes to your gameplay and trying to do on an extra wide monitor. But there are still some other valid complaints. You have some examples of stuttering and slowdown and dropped frames and so on and so forth. So it seems that the actual gameplay, by and large, again, there are some people who do not agree with this statement, but by and large, it seems that the gameplay is still what you would expect from a FromSoft game, but it's just the technical pieces around that are affecting a lot of people's ability to play. Now, it is presumed that once these issues are addressed, that their Metacritic reviews will go up very fast, because it's a FromSoft, and they're kind of, they made their name on being super high quality. So it does seem that some of the console stuff is being affected by it, so hopefully they can get all of this together in a much quicker fashion than Cyberpunk 2077 did from Project Red, CD Projekt Red, sorry. And we will be keeping tabs on this until it's figured out. So moving right along, we have one more follow-up, and that comes from TikTok. So TikTok is now allowing people to post videos up to 10 minutes long. Very interesting. This has been in the beta testing form for a number of weeks at this point. I actually believe the source said number of months at this point. So they have been testing this for some time now, and maybe the algorithm's going to update. I'm going to toss this one over to you, nerds. Is this TikTok really finally moving in for the killing blow on YouTube? And is that a good thing? I think there's two different arguments to be made there, because we'll talk about that in the comment section or on the socials, whichever one you prefer, because there's a lot of nuance here that I feel like needs to be explored. So that is what we have for follow-ups. We have no trailers for gaming and tech this week. We do have one piece of news here in gaming and tech, and that is Google. So Google is creating new technologies. They have a very specialized crew that is creating new technologies that know when you are paying attention. So there is a whole lot of creepy implications there. We're just gonna scoot those aside and let somebody who's slightly more eloquent in such matters deal with that, because my one concern is, what about ADHD? If Google is creating a computer monitor that turns off when it thinks I'm not paying attention, and I have ADHD, which I do, and I'm paying attention to 3 or 4 things at once, what's the monitor going to do? I don't think they've really thought this through yet. I don't know that we are to the point. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know that we're to the point, though, where we can easily do such things with technology. But again, that's why they have this highly specialized team. So I guess it is what it is. Just a little weird. We're moving right along, though. We have no more news. So let's get into the suggestions for the gaming and tech side. Gaming suggestion, another retro suggestion. This time we are in the 30th anniversary for Mortal Kombat. So Mortal Kombat Trilogy is going to be the suggestion, and there's a number of reasons. Not only is it my second favorite of the Mortal Kombat games, but it is presumably going to be the game that is being remastered. We have seen some screenshots surface throughout the last year roughly, but a lot more very recently, of a 3D remaster of something in the 2D era, being those first 4 games. 4 games being Mortal Kombat 2, Ultimate Mortal Kombat 3, because it erased Mortal Kombat 3, and then Mortal Kombat Trilogy, which technically erased Ultimate Mortal Kombat 3, but that's only mythologically speaking, not gameplay-wise. That's a whole other ball of wax. Anyway, Mortal Kombat Trilogy, this is the Mortal Kombat Armageddon of the 2D era. It has every potential character up to that point. It's a lot of fun. It is highly, highly broken if you are a competitive player, so that's a lot of fun to exploit, and also the reason why you don't see tournaments for this game. But yeah, just crazy good. This, the mythology in this one is a lot of fun to read, so definitely worth a revisit. That is our gaming and tech suggestion. We do have one more aside to get out of the way, just as a means of shameless self-promotion, and that is the live stream. Friday nights are the night that we live stream here on Generally Nerdy. The first half of every live stream is a live news show, so you can contribute live and in person. Well, kind of in person. If you wish, you just join over on the YouTube channel, Generally Nerdy, and you can see me there and do the stuff and contribute to the conversation all you want. And then the second half of every live stream episode is game time. Right now, I do have the Halo itch, so that is very likely what we're going to be playing. Also, Splitgate has been scratching that itch pretty well recently as well. So somewhere in that neighborhood, FPS at the moment, not necessarily always, but that being said, join me on Friday and let's get back to the episode. So let's talk about comic books and books. This section also, usually one of the shorter ones. I believe this is our biggest section of the episode. So, comic books and books follow-up. We have a follow-up on the Batman Beyond the White Knight book that we talked about when it was announced. Sean Murphy is at it again. We have a release date now. That release date is March 29th. Very specific. I believe before it was just March. Now we have the specific day that it's going to be on shelves. And we also have an interesting thing, and we'll get into this very briefly. Terry McGinnis, in this new version of the book, is going to be Asian. So here's an interesting thing. Let's put our reasonably nerdy caps on real quick. So what got us to this point? He's not going to be fully Asian, he's going to be half Asian, because Sean Murphy, even though he is doing the quote-unquote diversity thing, the SJW, I don't know what the terminology should be right now, but it is legitimate that he said that he wanted to do this for diversity's sake, so he needs to diversify his lineup, which, given the social climate, makes a little bit of sense. So the reason that he went with a half Asian Terry McGinnis is because a lot of people kind of already think that Terry McGinnis is Asian because of the way he's drawn in the animated movie or in the animated series, as well as that art style has continued into the comic books. So people already thought this. All of the kanji in future Gotham kind of leads one to believe that there's a lot of Asians kicking around. So it is what it is. So the reason we're talking about this in a reasonably nerdy aside is because this is a case where there is still respect being paid to the source material. It is an Elseworlds story, so it doesn't have to stick to the original source material to the letter. The fact that it is going to be a minor change in that he's changing Terry's mother to somebody of Asian descent, Japanese, I believe very specifically, is kind of an irrelevant detail. Like it didn't need to change, but now that it has, nothing about the character should really be affected by it. Now, that's not to say that nothing is going to be affected by it, because again, social climate and whatnot. But still, this goes back to the short that we posted a couple of weeks ago about it. Just because something changes in a series doesn't mean you're being targeted as a person. This is, again, an Elseworlds universe. Presumably, this is going to do very little to change the character of Terry McGinnis. I don't see why this is an issue. It would be an issue if they completely changed the character of Terry McGinnis, because if that's the case, why not just make Batman Beyond a different person and leave Terry McGinnis out of it? That I would understand the outrage. This, I don't understand the outrage. I don't get it. So I don't know. Let me know in the comments or whatever. We'll just move right along, shall we? Reasonably nerdy caps off. All right, so that is our follow-up. Now let's move into some announcements. We have the announcement from Tom Taylor. DCeased 3 is going to be coming out later this year. That is all we have. It's just a very vague window, but the final chapter of the DCeased story is going to happen this year. We have a Mandalorian announcement in the comic book section, and that is Marvel has announced that they're going to serialize the first season of the show as a comic book. Doesn't sound like anything is going to be added, at least not yet, so I don't know, maybe we'll keep tabs on that. We'll definitely keep tabs on it, but I don't know how closely we're going to keep those tabs. Next announcement is Batman. We have a new creative team taking over the mainline Batman stories. That is going to be Chip Zdarsky and Jorge Jimenez. Not super familiar with Zdarsky's writing off the top of my head, but I do like Jorge's art style, so I am pretty excited to see what happens there. They are going to be taking over in July. The issue in which they take over is number 125. Again, that is happening in July. And then next, oh, this is a fun one. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the IDW books are reintroducing a long-lost character from my childhood, kind of, and that is Venus de Milo. Venus de Milo is going to be a Ninja Turtle once again. She has been struck from all canon up until this point. She was only part of canon for a season of a really poorly thought out live action series, and then kind of disappeared, and that was 25 years ago. So now we have some interesting artwork that seems to be doing something a little bit different with Venus de Milo, though she is still the Mystic Turtle and is still going to be called Venus de Milo and is still wearing the pink bandana. So we know all of those things, we just don't know a whole lot else. Aside from, again, this weird, like, Frankenstein monster thing picture that we got, the artwork from this issue. So, a little bit more detail on that. We have issue number 127 coming out next month. So, April is when we're going to be seeing it. The story arc that this is going to be part of, though, is going to end pretty quickly thereafter. I think it was issue number 135 maybe, but the story of how Venus comes back into the world, kinda sorta, does not end with the story arc that is ending shortly after she is reintroduced. So again, the issue is number 127. It is the IDW TMNT comic books right now. I'm very interested to see what happens with this. But that's how we got, so we're moving on. And then we are to the end of this section, which means suggestions. We have comic book suggestions for this episode. White Knight. There are now 3 books, 2 mainline books, and then the Harley book that was not written by Sean Murphy, also worth a read. But the first 2 Sean Murphy books in this series are really good. Definitely, if you have not read them, this is a strong recommendation. If you're not really into comic books even, this is still a fantastic read. So definitely go check out the White Knight series from Sean Murphy. I don't remember off the top of my head who it was that wrote the Harley Quinn, but that also is a very good read. So TV streaming is where we're going now, and we have a few follow-ups. We have a Daredevil follow-up, the Daredevil Netflix universe. We talked previously about the fact that it is leaving Netflix, has left Netflix, I believe, at this point, and is going somewhere. they didn't say exactly what was going to happen until this morning. March 16th, you will be able to find Daredevil on your Disney Plus app. It was going to Disney Plus in other territories, just not here in the States. It is now officially going to be a part of the Disney Plus Marvel family on March 16th. So very interesting. Kind of opens up the door for a lot of possibilities down the road. So as that kind of larger conversation happens, we will be having that right here on the channel, so stick around. Our next follow-up, though, has to do with Crunchyroll. Remember, Crunchyroll bought Funimation, and the question was, now what's going to happen between Funimation and all of the other sub-branches therein? So Funimation, VRV, and Wakanim, I think is how I've never heard of that service before, so I apologize if I'm not pronouncing it right. They are all officially being absorbed into Crunchyroll, which means if you have access to Crunchyroll, all of the content that is available on those three outlets, again, Funimation, VRV, Wakanim, those three are, all of their libraries are going to Crunchyroll, and so Crunchyroll is going to be the hub for anime, and that's kind of freaking awesome, not gonna lie. We have one more follow-up, and this one, I honestly couldn't remember if we'd actually touched on this in the show proper. I think we'd been talking about it to some degree, the reboot of Futurama. I know I mentioned it once, but we haven't really been keeping tabs on that. The reason why is I don't really have the greatest hopes that it's going to be as good as the original series. But now there's a little bit more of a light at the end of the tunnel as far as that is concerned. And that is because we have official word that John DiMaggio, who is the voice of Bender, is in fact going to be rejoining the rest of the cast as well. He was holding out, this is the part that we didn't really touch on, he was holding out for more money, effectively. More recognition, I think, is a little bit more accurate of a statement than just more money, but yeah, definitely it sounds like Hulu, who is doing this third revival, it sounds like Hulu is going to be taking care of their cast, and DiMaggio agrees, so everyone is coming back. The gang's all here, as they say. So in trailers, we're moving from follow-ups over to trailers. We have one interesting trailer, and it comes from Adi Shankar. This is a new series on Netflix called Guardians of Justice, which sounds just as cheesy as it probably is. But this is unique for a number of reasons. First of all, the style of this series. It is going to be very much a mixed medium series. Multiple styles of animation. We have a bunch of live action stuff as well, and just it looks like they're just going to crisscross left and right, all and center. So and also Adi Shankar, if you remember, Adi Shankar is the guy that brought us that crazy Power Rangers short with James Van Der Beek, and it was just bonkers and awesome in so many ways, and it's what he's calling the bootleg universe. This is part of the Adi Shankar bootleg universe. Now Adi has corporate backing with Netflix, and it's very interesting. It's also very interesting because this is a superhero property that does not originate in comic. As far as I could find, because I did look into this, I could not find a comic book origin for this series. So yeah, this trailer is kind of bonkers and makes you want to go, I just want to watch this series to figure out what the hell this all means. So yeah, the trailer definitely worth a watch. That's what we have for the trailers portion. So let's move into news, and we have Metropolis, the series in the news, and not Metropolis, DC's Metropolis, but Metropolis from the 1927 film Metropolis, the silent film, the black and white that hopefully you have seen. If not, I've got to add that to the suggestions portion of this episode. But we do have a Metropolis series is going to Apple TV Plus. Showrunner is going to be Sam Esmail, who was the showrunner on Mr. Robot. So there's some big names going into this, man, and I'm very, very intrigued by this announcement. Apple TV Plus might be the sleeper streaming service, man. There's a lot of quality on that. Foundation, the Macbeth movie with Denzel Washington, or Denzil. If you saw that short, you know what I'm talking about. Anyway, so yeah, Metropolis going to Apple TV Plus, and then that's what we have for news. So we have suggestions. I'm adding to the notes, so pardon me, but these are the TV streaming suggestions. Metropolis, if you have not seen that movie, then probably watch that in preparation for the series. I don't know exactly how related they can be because of the distance in time, but still very intriguing, still a very good movie, so go watch that. And then the two that I have written down on the notes are Miss Maisel. Man, we're halfway through this season, and if you're not watching this, you are seriously missing out. Some of the best writing on television, on streaming, anywhere. Amy Sherman Palladino writes dialogue second to none. It's fantastic. You need to be watching this. And then the Cuphead show over on Netflix. Totally worth a watch. Really goofy. Totally a turn your brain off and just veg out for a half an hour at a time or something along those lines. But yeah, absolutely fun and worth the watch. That is TV streaming. Before we go any deeper, nerds, I just have to get this out of the way. If you have not already, let the algorithm gods know that you like what's going on. Hit that thumbs up button. Do whatever the like is on whatever platform you're watching or listening on, because that is free and it really helps the channel a whole lot. That being said, let's get back to the episode. So let's get into movies now. Movies is one of the shorter sections. Actually, the shortest is the rumor mill, but we'll get there. So Beetlejuice 2 is our first piece of news. We don't have follow-ups. We do have a couple of trailers, but I just had to get to this first. Beetlejuice 2 is actually happening. How crazy is this? All right, so Beetlejuice 2, Brad Pitt's production company, Plan B, just announced that they are going to be producing this movie. And we kind of have little hints and stuff from the last few years with Winona Ryder and Michael Keaton and Danny Elfman all dropping little hints that, yeah, this thing actually is coming. And I just refused to see it because it's been rumored to be happening essentially since the early 90s, when they approached Kevin Smith to write the script for it back in like 96 or something. So yeah, very awesome, hopefully. But that is our only piece of news. Let's get into the trailers real quick. We have the new Fantastic Beasts 3 trailer. This movie rather, just continues to look more and more epic. It kind of makes you feel like they might be overcompensating for all of the trouble that JK has been in recently, but I'm not going to speculate on that. But yeah, totally, if you haven't seen the trailer, go watch it and tell me that that doesn't hype you up for this movie, because if it doesn't, you're broken. And then we have a new trailer for The Adam Project. This one is a lot more action heavy, so we get to see kind of a little bit more of the meat and potatoes of what this movie is going to be made of. I'm even more intrigued by that. So yeah, this one also very, very much worth a watch. And then our final new trailer in the movie section is Morbius. We have the final trailer before the release on April 1st. This one could go either way still. I don't know that they're not giving me all the good pieces in the trailer. That's how I'm going to put that one. All right, so that's what we have for trailers. Now we have a single suggestion. Movie's suggestion is going to be Amelie. So we talked in the last episode, I believe, one of the movie suggestions was a movie called Big Bug. Well, that comes from the guy who created this movie, Amelie. Amelie is, if you are a film nerd, Amelie is at once very quirky and also kind of a cinema 101 kind of. It just has so much style that the story is almost secondary to the style. It is probably one of the most beautifully cinematic movies you're ever going to watch. So that is why we're doing that. I'm sure you can find a dubbed version. I always watch the subbed version just because I kind of know a little bit of French, so I like to try and test myself that way. But it is in French, so be warned, and it's very great. Super quirky little comedy, romance. Watch it with a significant other because it is definitely a romantic comedy, and that is the suggestions. All right, so Rumor Mill, like I said, Rumor Mill is tiny this week, but we do have one confirmation. We talked about it in the movie section. Beetlejuice 2 is freaking happening. What? What? Oh, I really hope it's great. I really hope it's great because the first movie was so awesome. Tim Burton just has gotten only crazier over the years, and I think that's going to be a good thing. Only time will tell, though, but that's what we have for the confirmations. Now let's get into The Flash, because we have two rumors, and they both have to do with the Flash movie. Our first rumor is that Aquaman and Wonder Woman, Jason Momoa and Gal Gadot, respectively, are going to have cameos in this new Flash movie. I thought this was already established, so we're gonna give this one an 80% likelihood, because at this point, the only thing that would surprise me is if they said, oh yeah, and Henry Cavill is also going to be here, which I feel like I did hear some rumblings about, but I couldn't find anything in so many words. So probably going to be in the next rumor mill. But then our other rumor is Joe Manganiello's Deathstroke is also going to have a cameo in this movie. This one seems like a little less likely of an option. It does seem like it is still definitely a possibility. Manganiello did recently post some pictures to his Instagram that are like, feel like he's doing something he did a little while ago for a character that he may or may not still be playing. So yeah, that one gives it a little bit of credence. It's also kind of one of the sources for this rumor is Joe Manganiello himself because of that style of information. So 65% likely that we will be seeing Deathstroke in the Flash movie because, I mean, they might be setting up a Batman situation. So like I said, that is all of the rumors that we have, but there is more news and more rumors. All you have to do is go into the other episodes that, you know, you can find over here to the side of my face. Do all of the things. Thank you very much, nerds, for joining me. Before we head out, always remember that if it is generally nerdy, it's probably here.